Hi, I'm Leslie Dowling, and welcome to Keep It Dirty. My podcast is all about living a clean and healthy lifestyle for a better version of you. And today, it is my pleasure to welcome my guest, Dr. David Lipman. David owns Physical Evidence Chiropractic and is a seasoned chiropractic physician who has successfully treated thousands of patients. With a deep personal commitment to biooptimization, Dr. Lipman has achieved extraordinary levels of strength, endurance, and overall health well into his 60s. His mission is to share the knowledge and processes that have profoundly benefited his life, helping others achieve optimal health and wellness. So it is a pleasure to have you on my show. How are you doing?
Superhuman and getting younger by the day, Leslie, and thank you for having me here today.
You are welcome. And I've just read a lot about looking at your IG, and you just have this energy that everybody is curious to know more about what you're doing, your thriving practice, and just conversations we've had that we have commiserated with, just being so passionate, um, educating people globally, and for people to be a better version of themselves. So I'd love for you to share more about what kind of got you on this path. Maybe you could take us back. Was there anything as a child that was really a catalyst or instrumental as to what you're doing today?
Yes, so that's exactly what happened. In fact, the whole concept of biooptimization has started when I was about 10 years old. I had just moved to a new neighborhood. It was a bit of a rough environment, and there was a kid next door to me. He was a couple of years older. His father was into martial arts, and he actually inspired me to do two things that like started my journey. Number one, to start exercising to get strong. So, in other words, there was this concept that somehow my body can become stronger and stronger through exercise. The second thing was that he got me off of Captain Crunch and Wonder Bread and to start to eat real food because apparently the food that grows or the food that was once alive that we can eat also helps to contribute to the strengthening of the body, building up the body. And I was motivated at the time because I didn't want to be victimized in this environment. There was some, tough kids and things like that. So that was kind of my initial motivation. But the concept that somehow I can get strong and stronger, and that food I ate would be part of that. Just something that I just really fortunately took to. So started exercising first thing in the morning. Back then it was like 6 a.m. in my basement with this kid next door doing calisthenics. We had a heavy bag punching and kicking, and so it was a combination of almost like a mixed martial arts type workout. This was back in 1971, and so that started my whole mindset and lifestyle of exercise and eating a certain way, other than the typical American diet that would have been eating at that time. The second thing that happened to me is when I was 15, I had a motorcycle accident and I broke my neck in two places. And I kind of hid it because I wasn't supposed to be on a motorcycle. I was more afraid of what my dad would do to me than the fact that I got hurt. And by the time I was about 19, my neck really was starting to become an issue. And I met this young chiropractic student working in a fitness center during my college years, and I didn't know what a chiropractor was. My folks didn't use them, my friends didn't use them, so I never even heard of it. So he was a big guy. He looked like Clark Kent, looked like he was going to pull open his shirt and there'd be a big S there. So he got me to come into the clinic, and he gave me my first set of X-rays and did a workup, and he gave me my first adjustment. And I got to tell you, something happened with that first adjustment. Not only the pain that I was suffering for so many years was gone, it just kind of propelled me into this direction that, okay, here's a profession that taps into the body's own ability to heal itself. And by doing this kind of stuff by hand, that this can also contribute to, the body getting stronger and healthier again. So I think those two things have kind of put me on what that path has, continually been since that point for me. And now, of course, years later, with all the other technologies and modalities that I've been exposed to, and things I've been able to include, and then of course share with others. It's just become, my lifestyle and my work style are like one and the same. It's just like sharing all the things I do every day with the people that come into my office, and now of course online as well.
Yeah. I, it's really amazing. Just the story you're telling me, it was like there was a guardian angel that was looking over you and catapulted you into a path that here you are today. I mean, you wonder, like, what would you be doing if you didn't have this? I think I just watched The Karate Kid, and
Mhm.
I'm thinking how Ralph Macchio just like connected, and it was so powerful. And that's kind of what I'm envisioning as you're speaking. I mean, wow. And is that person still alive today, or?
No, sadly, about three years ago, he came down with a very rare brain tumor,
Hmm.
and unfortunately, he passed away. But it's funny because I had spoken to him maybe 5 years ago. I was having one of those moments where I was kind of thinking back into my life, like all the little details that changed my direction. And I actually called him, and I hadn't seen him in many years. And I called him because his father owned this butcher shop, and we used to get meat from them all the time. So I know that he had taken over that job. So I called him at the butcher shop. We had a great conversation, and I told him how much he influenced my life. Back then when I was 10 years old, and unfortunately, he had kind of gotten out of that lifestyle himself. So he was telling me how he'd been out of shape, and I don't know if that contributed to him getting sick or whatever. I can't say, but it was just one of those things that was so profoundly affecting. And I years and years later just wanted to tell him thank him and tell him that this was a big part of my life, and it projected me into not only a healthy lifestyle, but it propelled me into this whole profession. And I was supposed to go into my dad's business. We had a multi-generational plumbing manufacturing business. My great grandfather started it. My grandfather was in it. My dad was in it, and I was kind of being groomed at a young age to go to it. So, excuse me, one of the hardest things to do is to come and tell my dad, Dad, I don't think I want to go in the family business. And thank God he was just like, look, I'm not sentimental about it. He says, I'll sell the business someday. He says, you just pursue what you want. So he totally supported, my new direction, which was like a blessing for me for sure.
Wow. Were you the only child?
Now, I had two younger sisters, but neither of them were inclined to, want to do that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Interesting. And I just know just very dear friends of ours when we moved from Long Island to Pennsylvania. My parents really connected with a family where the husband was a chiropractor. And it really opened up my vision and views. Like we ate very healthy, and we were very like, traditional in the way we were raised, eating really whole foods. But he was able to adjust my dog's like back, where the doctor said, the vet said, well, we don't see this dog living that long because he's in pain. And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. And his wife was really into organic. And first time I really heard about holistic, which was really a catalyst for me to do what I'm doing now. But the reason why I'm kind of circling into this question is years ago, people are not really pro chiropractic. I think because they didn't know much about it, and maybe I'm wrong, but also, it wasn't covered. I mean, how many years ago was it that the insurance started accepting chiropractic care? And now, thank God, I mean, people are very into, chiropractic care, which is wonderful.
Yeah, the insurance coverage really started sort of in like the late '70s, but the '80s was when it really took off. Now the whole way that insurance was able to do it is because they had some studies that showed that um, chiropractic was effective in treating low back pain. Now chiropractic wasn't developed to treat pain at all. Everybody now associates
Mhm.
chiropractic care with some kind of pain syndrome, but that's not the way it was originally developed. It was to help to remove any obstacles in the body, the nervous system, to be able to have the body function normally. Because sometimes with what they call subluxations in the spine, it affects the way the nerves are flowing to the rest of the body, and if the the nerve flow and energy can't get to where it needs to go, it can't help the organs function properly or the muscles function properly. So that's really what it was developed for. But because of these studies that showed that it was effective for low back pain, that's how it sort of got the insurance coverage. And now it's why people really just more associate it with pain as opposed to a maintenance thing for the body, which is really the great beauty of it, is to keep the body moving and flowing and everything working at a more optimal way, as opposed to when things are congested and clogged up neurologically.
Yeah, and I'm glad I asked this question because I think most people do. They associate like I was having a lot of stress, pain, drainage. My chiropractor pops my ears. I felt great. My friends were like, this is good for sinuses. I said, oh my gosh, it's good for so many avenues of healthing, having a healthy body. So maybe you could open up some doors to explain to people a little bit more about what your services are and all that chiropractors can do for people. I guess this could be hours, right? This could be like a mini series that we can have, but maybe just give a little bit of a share with everybody.
Yes. So, I mean, again, just talking about the chiropractic piece. What I do as a chiropractic physician is I help to, again, unwind a lot of the tension that builds up in the body, causing, lack of blood flow, lack of nerve flow. And when, you're not getting blood to areas and nerve flow to areas, our bodies can't function optimally. So the idea of chiropractic as a maintenance thing is just one component, just like, eating a nutritionally sound menu plan. It's the same thing. This is giving you something on a regular basis that will help your body restore its normal functioning and the way that all the processes are going on. And so that is a concept of chiropractic care, looking at it that way as opposed to say, all right, my low back's hurting me. I'm going to go until my back feels better, and then I'm not going to go back, which is what a lot of people tend to do. But I have people that really understand the concept and realize the difference of how they feel when they're coming in for maintenance, once every 2 weeks, once every 4 weeks. So the people that do that, first of all, they don't even get into an acute, pain syndrome because their bodies are working more effectively from a mechanical standpoint, the way we're bearing weight and moving. But also, they don't tend to get sick. They tend to have more energy. They tend to sleep better because their body is just functioning better. And all the things that become obstacles as the body kind of tightens itself up and things start to, lose flow, that's when things start to break down and people don't feel as well. But I tell you, the people that do the maintenance, and I've been getting adjusted since I'm 19 years old. So, this is 40 some odd years that I've been doing this chiropractically for myself. And I keep that in my own lifestyle very regularly. I have a friend, a colleague that we exchange adjustments every week because it's important to him too. Because we understand it, chiro to chiro, so to speak, as opposed to like it's not just about back pain or shoulder pain or whatever it is. It's more about a maintenance and keeping that body working.
Yeah, that's interesting because as you're speaking, as a Reiki practitioner on animals and people, I also need to be grounded. And sometimes the energy is just taken away from us and then we become imbalanced.
Right.
And that trickles into so many other avenues. So I think as healthcare providers, we also need to be nurtured and, like you said, to be adjusted. Maybe you could just share with our viewers and listeners a little more about, these people say, well, I'd like to, but I have osteopenia and I don't want my bones to crack or to be adjusted. Maybe I shouldn't. Or someone like, my mother who was compromised, she had osteoporosis, osteopenia, like it just kind of progressed, and spinal stenosis. Elderly people, do you navigate cautiously? Or maybe you could share some of the other things that you have that you provide at your practice to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we have different modalities that I use. I don't just do adjustments. In fact, the adjustment comes really at the end of the treatment. I spend probably 2/3 of the time unwinding all the myofascial tension throughout the body. I have a different modalities, one called shockwave, which helps to break up myofascial adhesions or knots or trigger points. We also use deep tissue laser, which actually helps to speed up the process of healing at the cellular level. So those two modalities many times are what I'm using first to get somebody's body in a much looser and kind of getting blood flow back and doing that. And in some cases, as you point out, some manipulation manually might not be appropriate for a particular patient, but there are other things I could do, different tools I can use. We have a special table that actually tractions that I do manually, so I'm actually able to move the spine a lot by hand without doing a forceful kind of manipulative thrust. There's also some other devices that can be used to actually create the adjustment. I have a colleague that's been creating instruments for our industry for like 25 years. And with some of the instruments, he could actually put pressure against a particular joint that's not moving, and it measures it, and then it gives the exact impulse to those areas that needs to release it. So they're using an instrument to do that. So I use them sometimes because, as you point out, in some cases, you definitely don't want to do a manual type adjustment to someone. Osteopenia, osteoporosis. If you know that somebody has, or you're concerned they might have like blood clots, let's say, that can be, especially with the cervical adjustment, the neck adjustment, something like that, you wouldn't want to do. So you'd want to be able to still help somebody, but use some of these other tools because it'd be more appropriate in that situation. So there's different ways of doing it in those kind of cases, as you mentioned.
Yeah, that's interesting. I just know that I guess what kind of got me in my foot in the door before COVID, I started lecturing to a financial institution that actually on the first floor had a gym. And so I was going to the massage therapist and somebody that did muscle activation technique, MAT.
Oh, MAT, yep.
What are your thoughts on that? I thought it was fascinating, but he kept going back to, I guess, where was it? The main headquarters, and had all these different levels he was studying, but then introduced different tools. But I felt that when I got to a certain level, if I didn't go every week, I kind of slipped back. But I just know that he reactivated the muscle tissue if it's not really advanced, and I was able to really move. And when I was on my horse, I was just amazed how I was just so aware with the connection of what was going on. Can you share a little bit of that? And what are your thoughts on MAT?
Yeah, so I've done MAT some years ago, and what I tried it because the concept was very similar to something I already had a belief system in, is that much of the dysfunction that happens from a musculoskeletal standpoint in our body happens because of a loss of mobility of the tissues, the joint and the soft tissue. And that reduces the amount of sensory information that's going to the brain. So the brain's information coming out to the motor system is altered too. So sometimes the muscle will not be firing properly to do its proper, support and motion. And then the body compensates and creates these, dysfunctional patterns of weight bearing and movement, which is usually how most people that come in my office, they end up here. They're going about their business and they bend over to, put their sock on, and all of a sudden they can't straighten up because there's certain compensations going in their body where there's a loss of mobility. There's not enough muscle activation to take them through a functional way of motion. And so something just overstresses with, a lack of mobility, and then the brain just shuts the whole thing down and tries to protect it. So muscle activation is one technique to be able to utilize to get muscles to, start getting activated again. But you also have to address joint immobility. You have to address fascial tension lines, because sometimes, even like with exercise, you can't just rehabilitate something. Sometimes you got to get the muscles to start firing and functioning properly before you can get the whole system. So my approach really integrates everything. You can't just do adjustments. You can't just do a massage. You can't just do MAT. You can't just do myofascial release. I incorporate all of those things, plus exercise, to get somebody to, again, re-engineer the way their body's, supporting weight and moving. And that's the kind of approach. So all the things I mentioned, I think the best approach is integrating all those things together in a very coherent way, because they all work together. But I think individually they're not enough, to do the whole thing. Again, like adjustments alone are just not enough, really.
Yeah. I love what you're saying. It's sort of like everything in the spectrum, like, the rainbow. And people say to me, well, you're in your 50s, you look great, but I don't have those genes. And I said, no, it's a mental mindset shift for lifelong changes, just like your career. You're not going to be the CEO of a company overnight. In your brain that you need to go for schooling, that you need to just learn the trade, that it takes years. And that's when I try to be the queen of analogy of telling, and not to educating people. Just don't overwhelm yourself, one step at a time, but it's a lifelong commitment. How do you approach your patients so they don't get overwhelmed, but for them to understand that this is just a spectrum of so many different levels to keep ourselves integrated, like optimally eating, ingesting things on our skin that's clean. I mean, there's so many things that go into it. Relationships, healthy relationships. So maybe you could share a little bit about that.
Absolutely. One of the things I really try to do when people come in here, regardless of what they're coming in for, because again, not only do we have chiropractic, we have Superhuman Protocol, we have red light therapy as a standalone therapy. Um, we do micronutrient testing and methylation testing to see genetically how somebody's processing nutrients. And if there's any issues with that, we help them find out what those issues are. So then when they do supplement, they can supplement specifically based on the way their body processes nutrients and for their particular deficiencies. So you're not just throwing supplements at everybody. But what I try to do is understand, like, well, let's say they came in for low back pain. I try to go a little deeper and just see what else is in their lifestyle. Like are they exercising on a regular basis? Are they sitting most of the day? What's in their day to day that, number one, might be contributing to what's happening. Because most people that come in with pain, it wasn't from a single incident. It's something that kind of developed over time. So it's something they're doing or not doing or both on a daily basis that leads them to this, dysfunctional, painful state that they come in. So I try to prevail upon them to see if they're doing the homework, as you say, the daily things in their lifestyle. And I find that the people that really don't feel good overall, like it's not just the back pain or the shoulder pain or neck pain that coming in, but they're lethargic, they don't sleep well, they don't digest food well. So I try to find where they're kind of at in their own journey, and are they motivated to make changes? Because it's easy to come in and tell me that they're not feeling good. It's another thing to really do a deep dive and figure out what are all these components. And I would never overwhelm them. Always taking a look based on what they tell me on what's the first things we can have them do. Young guy, early 30s, has a new baby, 8 months old now, hasn't been sleeping very well, been feeling like more, draggy and tired. And, he's a busy guy and, young dad. So one of the things I got him, because he lives near the beach, I told him now he's in a habit. Every morning he gets up, he puts some salt into some water, drinks that down, goes out barefoot on the beach, takes a walk, and does some deep breathing exercises and catches those first rays of sun, which is sort of what the Superhuman Protocol is here in the office. It's combining pulsed electromagnetic field or grounding, oxygen therapy while exercising. So he's doing deep breathing exercises to get much more oxygen in his tissues. And of course, the sun, like red light, will drive that oxygen into the cell to optimize cellular metabolism. So, you could take somebody that's really not getting all those things together and bring them to where their cells are making about 16 times more energy cell to cell than they might be normally. So, I mean, he's just been doing that for 2 weeks and he already feels like just like $1 million. Like just that simple practice is something. And now he started to do a cold plunge too. So he's added that to it, which is also revving up metabolic activity, causing an increased oxygenation of all his tissues, because when you're in the cold, all that oxygen in your blood gets pulled to the core and to your vital organs, nervous system. So in 2 short weeks, he feels like he did back in his early 20s. And that was a very simple fix. So again, I try to find out who they are, what they're willing to do, and see where they might be able to start adding some of these components. If they don't exercise, start with walking. I never, tell them to go join a gym and find a trainer. I'll start them to just do something that they could just easily start off with, like just, start taking a walk every day. Do some deep breathing while you're doing that, just to get baby steps. And some people want to jump right in and like they've had it. They just want to make the change and they're going to be all in on whatever I tell them. So you just got to know who you're talking to and see how they respond.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said that, because I know with when I was really focused on clients, now I love to just do more public speaking engagements, but my clients, I don't say patients, my clients actually hit the wall after 7 doctors. It was like they put me on all these meds. I'm so compromised. We're not getting down to really what the root cause is. We mask it. And I'm finding here on the East Coast, closer to Pennsylvania area where I live, that now chiropractors are like, you're a functional health practitioner. We need you on board. We need to have a meeting of the minds because of this 67 question intake form I have. And all of the things on the spectrum that can also provide and just nurture the chiropractic places that are around, and they're just now getting that. So I'm just sitting here I'm like, wow, I'm jealous. I wish you could like franchise and have something like that here up north. Is that something that you see in Florida, or are you like the premier, like everything under a rainbow, really helping people out other than just chiropractic care? Because I wasn't aware of all that you do, obviously, because I don't live in Florida.
Yeah, I think my situation is somewhat unique because I've always been driven to see what's the newest modalities, what's going on in the scientific world that can be brought into my world. We there's more things to even do here that I didn't even mention,
Mhm.
but my whole goal is to do things that is going to tap into the body's best, regenerative power, and to understand one concept I tell everybody is that our bodies are at war every single day with the modern world. The modern world is waging a war against us. So we have to soldier up and put on our armor every day to fight this battle. Whether it's toxins in our environment, the water, the food, the air that we breathe, and even this electrical grid around us and wireless networks and Bluetooth, these things are disturbing our normal electromagnetic fields in our body. It's to such an extent that it's creating all kinds of problems, and the healthcare community hasn't really taken a look at how this can be profoundly affecting people. Anything from headaches to blood clots and things like that, because the polarity of our bodies are off because of all this electrical high field electromagnetic fields around us. We're just like the Earth. We have this low frequency electromagnetic field within us. We're a biophysical entity, just like the Earth. And the Earth has been giving us, daily rejuvenation of that plus and minus charges. But now most of us live on, concrete slabs. We wear rubber soles. But the worst part of not just grounding to the earth is that all this electrical stuff around us is harming us in so many ways, and people are so unaware of that. And the toxic, air that we're breathing many times inside our homes. Even if you have filters, there's good ones and there's not so good ones. So the air outside, even though there's pollution, it's still clearer than a lot of the air that we're living indoors with. So we're just up against so much in this modern world, and we just you can't do everything. But the more you can minimize your exposure to the bad stuff and fortify the deficiencies that might exist that aren't allowing your body to do its best fighting and be strong and make the hormones and the enzymes and amino acids, everything we need to make just to function normally. You have to almost learn enough about your body and become your own doctor. You got to be more into self-care than healthcare. You can't just live your life and like nothing's going on, and then something breaks down and expect the doctor's going to fix it for you. No, you have to do that yourself by investing in yourself. I tell people they have to invest in the incline of their health as opposed to just manage the decline, because that's the kind of way we've been taught, and that's not the way it should be.
Yeah. Uh, I just know from my website, I have packages about detoxing your home,
Mm-hmm.
and also, just having a cleaner kitchen, just simple things like going through your cupboards, like reading the labels, trying to stay away from the process, the package, down to little things like people with little ones, the dyes and chemicals in the bubble baths, even though they're really cute and they have a pretty face and, oh, Elmo, we're going to get that. And then you turn it around and you're like, that's just a whole nother spectrum of what's going on that now is still prevalent in the US, that you could purchase these products that are no longer on the European shelves.
Right. They're
So,
using they're using like vegetables and stuff to color the
yeah.
Fruit Loops instead of red dye number 3 and all that.
Right, right. And so, do you have any protocols? Say I come in and I know that I'm not feeling well, but I'm kind of up against the wall, and I'm not as educated as what we have gone through all these years of just educating ourselves and going through schooling and whatnot. What do you say? What's the first thing our viewers and listeners can do, say in their home, to possibly detox it, or a little, just to be maybe in a healthier environment, like you said, filters, or stop with the Glade products.
Yes.
Those are chemicals.
Yes.
So what can we do not to be overwhelmed?
Yeah. So again, first of all, you have to be willing to make these changes. You have to understand how these things are impacting you, and be willing to switch out products. There's enough natural products on the market to substitute for the, the name brands you might have been using, since you were a kid and your mom was using them. So first of all, you have to be willing to identify, the things that you're using and seeing the chemicals, and then just getting substitutes, for those particular things. Women, as an example, all the makeup and all the cosmetics you guys use, there's, most of the brands have a lot of, heavy duty chemicals in those things, and you put them on your body every day. And of course, that's going to absorb through your skin, as it's being the largest organ in your body. So, and there are brands out there that, actually are very, clear about their ingredients, and they let you know that these are all natural ingredients. There's nothing that's artificial or chemical in this. So I think you have to first want to do that and be able to go through that deep dive. I've had a lot of, mostly women. I don't find men as eager to do this. Mm-hmm. As women are, because women, I think that's more their nature, to try to make their home safer for their husbands, their children. And so I think they seem to be, from the responses that I have conversations with here, it's mostly the women that are actually interested in doing these things. And some gals are already doing it. They've been on their own health journey as a result, and they've done this for their kids. And they're not going to give them Fruit Loops or Kellogg's or any of these cereal companies. And they really are looking at that. They've gotten rid of all the plastic in their house. They're only drinking out of glass. They're just storing food in glass. They're not using plastic anymore. And these things are the kinds of things that people just need to be aware of. Plastic is such a big problem. More recently, they've come out with all those studies about the microplastics that are in all of us, and you really can't get rid of it. So, again, trying to minimize your exposure. But then again, doing some of these other things, like we're talking about, like, Superhuman Protocol. Get grounding every day. Get out in the fresh air and do some deep breathing. Get some sunlight on your face. I'm fortunate. I have the Superhuman. I have a pulsed electromagnetic field. I have exercise with oxygen therapy, and then a very powerful red light, near infrared bed that I'm able to go in every day. And I have people now that are actually seeking it out because they also don't feel well. So I have people even trying to beat cancer without radiation and chemo coming to use these protocols, because there's so many people out there that really don't have an understanding of what cancer is. Cancer is a normal cell that stopped making energy the normal way, and it's making it an alternative way, which starts to cause more damage inside the cell, free radical damage, and it's also not getting oxygen into the cell. So the cell becomes proliferating in this abnormal metabolic way. But they have so many studies where they've shown where they can take normal mitochondria, put it into a cancerous cell, and it'll restore that cell. So these aren't, zombie cells or monster cells like we've been led to believe. They're normal cells that just, the engines of making energy have just become defunct. And the things that you need to do is just help to restore those engines so they can start making energy the right way and restore those cells. It's not trying to, do chemo or radiation and try to kill all those cells before it kills the patient. I don't know what.
Yeah. No, so true. And what you're saying, I think, because our society is so compromised, and you see higher rates of dementia, Alzheimer's, it's the sugars, it's our diet, and because we're compromised, is it true that we all have these cancer cells that are dormant, but once something opens it up and triggers it, it then can manifest and start taking over our body? Like, what? Can you explain a little bit more about that?
So, there's, everybody thinks these days it's a genetic tendency.
Yeah.
But there's more in our environment, in our lifestyles, that's going to contribute to that. As an example, free radicals in our environment, toxins that can get into our cells. And a free radical is a molecule that lacks an electron on the outer shell. And it'll steal that electron from, healthy tissue to feed its need for that electron. And when it gets in the cell and it's doing that, it's destroying, some of the inner workings of that cell. So that cell can no longer make energy properly. The mitochondria become compromised and they can't make ATP, which is the energy source. And there's things like nitric oxide that can get in there too, that prevents oxygen from getting onto the what's called electron transport train to make that. Because we're supposed to make energy through what's called oxidative phosphorylation. But under these circumstances, we lose oxygen. the body goes over to something called aerobic glycolysis, which is really like the fermentation process. When
Hmm.
sugars ferment, that's what happens, and that's the kind of respiration like a single-celled organism does as its thing. But for us, it's not supposed to be that way. We're supposed to have oxygen in our cells, optimizing glucose. Glucose metabolism. We're supposed to be breaking down sugar in this proper way with oxygen. But when a cancer cell happens, it's happening because it's losing that ability. It's not a genetic thing. It's more than always an environmental thing. Again, exposures to things that are getting into the cells and preventing the cell from making oxygen its source of energy production. But that can be reversed in the cell itself. So there's a big misunderstanding of what that's like. It just shifts over to a different energy producing, usually now precipitated not necessarily by genetics, but because of the environmental things that are getting in there and causing this free radical damage. And when that happens, it actually causes more of these what's called reactive oxygen species that happen in the cell, and they continue to punch holes in the cell, and they could also cause that same thing to spread to other cells in the body. That's like what metastasis is.
Hmm.
So I think that's what I've understood from things that I've researched. That's really the accurate way to understand where it's happening, and not that it's some kind of monster cell that has to be killed by this chemistry again before it kills the patient.
Yeah. Uh, so if somebody would go to your practice,
Mhm.
and do you have special packages under an umbrella that people can pick and choose? Or, I want the red light therapy. I know they have a tanning salon where we are, but now in the tanning salon, which I don't do,
Mhm.
that's a whole nother story. But they have now the where you go in the tank where it's freezing, whatever. What is that called? I haven't tried that yet.
Cryosauna.
Cryosauna, and
Yeah.
then they have this new high tech, the UV lights that you sit, and it's sort of like you're on the chaise lounge,
Hmm.
and but that's $90 extra. Then it's another $90, and I'm like, why don't they just do like a special package? So can you share with everybody what do you offer?
Yeah, so we do have packages, sort of like a subscription, like a membership model. And so depending on what people are interested in using will depend on what that includes. As an example, pulsed electromagnetic field, exercise with oxygen therapy, red light therapy, which is called the Superhuman Protocol. We have monthly memberships where people can come unlimited. We're open 6 days a week. They can come 6 days a week if they want and do the protocol. Or we have packages for any one of those individuals. I would say most people are, if they're not doing superhuman, they're doing red light therapy as a standalone therapy. And so we have monthly unlimited packages for that. I tell people, I encourage them. I said, look, you can come 3 times a week, but I'm going to encourage you to come 6 times a week, because the more you're exposing your body to all of these, benefits, the faster it's going to work, and the more it's going to continue to work over time. So I find that makes it very easy for people having that. I put them on an automatic, recurring cycle of billing, and then they're able to access us, as many days a week as they want. And I want them to get results, so that's why, if they have the time to come in, I try to really encourage them to utilize this stuff. I say, look, I use this stuff every day. Yeah, it's mine, it's in my office, but I'm giving you the same opportunity because this is what it's done for me, and I'll make it easy for you. It's an easy, monthly fee. It's not exorbitant. And as long as they're willing to come in and use it, it's made huge differences. I mean, I could spend the next couple of hours talking to you about some success stories we've had, but it's not doing anything magic. It's just getting the body to do what the body does best in terms of healing and regeneration. I mean, and that's it. But you have to
Yeah.
do it. You have to invest in it. It's not going to happen by design.
Yeah. So as the wheels are turning, in my business side is thinking, well, demographically, I mean, you're in a great location. Um, do you find more of the Gen Zs coming in, or like all different age groups that really are now resonating and coming in? And is it word of mouth, or you do a lot of promoting? Um, and also, when we're done closing, I want you to let everybody know in the surrounding area that lives near you how they could reach out to you, or your websites. But maybe you could just share a little bit about that.
Yes. So it's interesting. I find I'm a baby boomer, and I've been fortunate that I have a few gals that are millennials that work with me. One of which does all my Instagram and Facebook content. where we're able to really highlight some of the things that we do that you're not going to see in a chiropractic office, or in some cases anywhere. I mean, right now, the Superhuman Protocol, there's only two commercial places. One's mine and one's Gary Brecker's, who's down in Miami. And
Oh,
Gary has a huge platform online. He's been on Joe Rogan, and he travels the world, and he's on podcasts all over. But he's really brought in the idea of Superhuman Protocol to the masses. In fact, I've had it as long as he has, but once he was on Joe Rogan, the search engine activity for Superhuman Protocol just went through the roof. And people that live closer to me are coming to use it at my facility as opposed to going down to Miami, because again, it's something you need to do on a regular basis. I think I said earlier in the conversation that I have a gal that's determined to beat cancer without radiation and chemo, with diet, supplements, and the Superhuman Protocol. And she just got her numbers back 2 weeks ago, and she's completely clear. And this is a girl that had 3 tumors and at least one of her breasts. I don't know if it was in both. But and she's been chronicling it on her Instagram channel too. So every time she comes here, or some of the other things she does, and now people are reaching out to her. Hey, I want to do what you did. I have cancer, and I don't want to do chemo. I don't want to do radiation. So she's automatically become like a counselor to people, and she's great. And I told her, I said, I believe, and she believes it too, that she got cancer only so she can help others beat it the way she did.
wow. That is so powerful.
Yeah.
And the fact that there are alternative ways. I think that, I don't know, I think it's the older generation that are more just focused. The doctor knows better. He'll put me in good hands, and I will do whatever they tell me to do. And I think we have to unravel that. I just know that my 25-year-old who lives in Tampa, he goes to a gym that has a lot of the things that you're talking about.
Mhm.
But if he lived a little closer, he'd be right there, being like your number one clientele. Because, and I think I'm going to just say, I think I did a good job, because they thought I was crazy over the years. Mom, what is this clean eating? Why are you going to this UV play? And now they're getting it. And there's so much more well-versed and educated and on top of things. And they'll say, hey, yeah, my friends went through the drive-through. They don't even understand what it's doing, and just depleting them of minerals, and your body goes on overdrive digesting. And I'm like, thank you. I'm glad you guys understand that. And I think that's where we come into play, just planting the seeds, just educating,
That's what I
right?
live for my kids. That my kids know Dad works out, and this is how he eats. And every one of them has done that on their own, without me, throwing it down their throat. But they've all have lifestyles that are healthy. Their spouses are also in that, and
Yeah.
those that have kids, it's also something that's important. So I think leading by example is a great way, whether we're doing it as parents or as healthcare practitioners or coaches, to help others, because people want this. They just need the resources, like people like us that have already just been doing it, and just to be able to share that. And I find that the millennials and the Gen Zs are more apt and open than the older generation, like you said, because they don't think that the doctors are God, and what their words are gospel.
Yeah.
They don't trust in that system anymore, because they've seen it fail for their own parents and and people that they know. Whereas now there's such a massive kind of movement towards this, self-care, and to, they're having recovery centers that do vitamin drips, and all these things are starting to come out. So the community is getting more aware of these things, which is a really good thing, because if we put all our attention into prevention, the chances that we're going to really need some help someday is so reduced, because we're taking care of ourselves in the way we need to every day. And
Yeah.
so, that's the environmental piece of it. But I love that you had that same influence on your kids too, because I could relate to that, and I'm so glad that I did, and they followed suit. Of course, I'm sure you're thrilled.
And I think what you just said really is key. I never pushed my kids. I never, because I didn't want them to go the opposite way and rebel. I said, look, this is your journey too. I'm here if you fall to help you, but you're going to go to your friend's house. You're going to eat whatever you want. Go to McDonald's. That's fine. But, you'll eventually understand why I'm so passionate about living healthy. And so I think that's key. I don't live vicariously through my kids. they're so hardwired so differently. And when everything was on lockdown, fellow practitioners and I created a think tank, and we did a really intense study on Gen Zs. And they just are just so self-motivated, entrepreneurial. Um, they could do it. They could figure things out, and they don't have that fear, because gone are the days where people could be in corporate for 40 years or 30 years, and things, and our whole environment is changing. And why I'm going to bring this up, I don't know, but I was just laughing with my cousin. She found all these stacks of, it's called Mad Magazine.
I have them. I got a huge carton that I've been told I got to get rid of them because I've had them for like 45 years. I know exactly what you're saying. Go ahead.
And on the back, I'll never forget, we were going to Jones Beach because I grew up on Long Island.
Yeah.
My brother and I were in the back. He was older than me, and he loved Mad Libs, and you could actually fold the back cover.
Yeah, and it turned into something else.
Yeah, and it turned into bottled water. Is it safe? And we were laughing in the car saying, oh my gosh, isn't that silly? You could drink the water out of the tap water. And look where we are today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that, I know I'm going to get off of my, what else can you share? I know that there's so much we could speak into, but I promised all our viewers and listeners, Dr. Lipman, if you can come back on our show, maybe we could brainstorm and we could come up with other things that people want to listen to. I'm always asking, trying to connect with everyone that's supporting my show. Please send in any questions that you might have, things that you might want Dr. Lipman and I to speak into, especially you are so well versed. Is there anything else maybe you could share? And then I have a question for you after that.
Sure. Well, one of the things I just wanted to offer anybody that's interested, you can reach me at physicalevidenceconnect.com. It'll take you to a form fill where you can put in your information, ask a question. There's a drop-down menu on certain topics that you might be interested in, but you also have a place where you can just kind of free write anything you have questions. It'll come to me directly, and I can reach out and have a conversation with you. It doesn't cost anything, so I'm happy to do that. The other thing I think would be a nice idea, if you'd be interested in, is we can do a deeper dive on the methylation and the micronutrient testing that we do. In fact, what I'd like to do, and I do this here in the office all the time, is I would share my reports. So when I did my analysis, the results I got, how I saw not only what my methylation issues are, but what my micronutrient deficiencies, intracellular deficiencies were. And from that, I was able to create a custom supplement plan that actually helped me to not only reverse those deficiencies, but also change some symptoms, like blood pressure had been going up unexplained. Then I figured out why, because of methylation issues and because of micronutrient deficiencies. So these are simple ways to learn so much more about yourself and how to really supplement in a way that's going to be meaningful to your body based on the way your body processes nutrients and your actual deficiencies. So that's something I'd like to put out there, because I think a lot of people will be interested in that. And that's something we can deliver to anybody in the country. The lab drop ships their test kits, and then the analysis happens, and then we do the review and then figure out what supplements are needed in each case.
I love that. It's the beauty of now, virtual, where you don't have to physically walk in.
Right.
You could actually, I guess you have a form or something that people can fill out, and then you go from there. And now, do you have something called, I know family members, they did something called Genocide, which is the saliva test. It's through a company, and then that's when they found out they had methylation issues. Is it similar, like a saliva test that you do?
So you could do that just for the methylation, but we combine it with the micronutrient testing because we want to know not only the way your methylation issues are, where your mutations might be, but also what are your specific deficiencies. Because armed with both of those things, you're going to really be able to have no question about what your body needs and in what forms you need to. So it's great to know your methylation issues, because I think every pediatrician should test every child the first day they come in, because those methylation issues are going to affect them their entire life, the way they process or don't process nutrients. And if you're not processing nutrients, you can't make hormones and enzymes and neurotransmitters and B vitamins and all the things that our body needs to make just to function normally. And that's something that somebody needs to know right up front. And it's so easy and possible to do. In fact, it is just for the methylation, just like a cheek swab. because it's just like a DNA thing. But again, because we combine it with the micronutrient test, they can do it in the blood draw, get both information in that same blood draw.
So then for somebody that's interested in working with you that's out of state, they could just, do the intake form, then you send them this package and then they send it into the lab and get more information. I just know the whole new wave, and my oldest, who's 25, listens to Joe Rogan, and there was somebody on and he's like, Mom, I'm going to look into this company where they do the blood work. They just, it's like a very bio-individual package, which is the next wave of what's going on. It's not just going into a doctor's office. There's so much more that is, and
exactly.
Share just like a minute or two. And I know we're kind of going over, but I know time is of the essence with everybody. So maybe you could share a little bit about that.
Yeah. So and we're fortunate as chiropractors too. We, in the last, I'd say 3 years that I've been going for continuing education, one of the things that they've really started to bring on board are instructors that are talking about functional medicine and things that we can do testing wise in our offices to help our patients, because they're not getting this from other places. In fact, in June of this past year, we were at one, and one doctor came in. He was a little, very adamant about, like, the Joe Rogans of the world should not be the ones talking to people about this stuff. You guys should be the ones. You're the chiropractors. You're the ones that should be talking about it. And I said, Doc, I got to say, I agree with that. However, the Joe Rogans of the world are giving an awareness to these things that people didn't even know existed. So, and since he has a great platform, I'm very happy that now more people are becoming aware of this. But yes, absolutely, we are the people, because we're not indoctrinated into a medical mindset of writing prescriptions to try to treat symptoms of something that's manifesting. We want to figure out what's gone wrong in the body and what does the body need to start working the way the body needs to work again. Not try to get rid of symptoms of something that is just like just looking at the whole wrong thing. It's like just trying to put a Band-Aid on cancer or something like that. It's not the way. There's always an answer of why. We can figure out what's going wrong. We can look at metabolic function. We can look at heavy metal poisoning. We can look at all these different things to see how our bodies are processing or not processing nutrients, as I just said too. So these things are all available. There's lots of labs around the country doing all these things. I mean, you could do a super deep dive, but in many cases, very simple things by just getting the right nutrients. That's all you need to start functioning better, because it's not magic. It's just biochemistry. It's just and the fact is that a lot of people are defunct. The food that we eat doesn't have the nutrient content it used to have, and so in not getting it from supplemental practices, you're not getting it. Your body just can't function without these things properly. It can't make what it needs to make to function optimally.
Yeah, and you're saying about the metal detoxification. My oldest son, a lot of his friends are starting to get married, wanting to have children. A lot of them are having issues, and I try to educate them. Now you're at a level that is just amazing, but just creating that awareness of, certain herbs you could take to detox your body. There's over 2,500 toxins that is just dormant in your system, especially when bringing a child into the world before they take their first breath. They're just inundated in a world that is toxic. Yep. And then you connect the dots and you say, oh, well, they're compromised. They have, autoimmune issues. There's so many things on the spectrum. So I guess I will just say thank you for being on my show. There's so many things I'm writing down. Other topics of conversation that I think is just very important to bring to the table. And I consider myself a mini micro version of Joe Rogan, because for me, my passion is having people like you that are so well versed to have a platform to create awareness here on Keep It Dirty. So again, the quick question I have for all my guests, I was going to say my patients, my guests are, well, you answered the first one, like, who is your superhero? Would it be, the person that actually at 10 years of age really brought you into this world of awareness? Would you say that?
That's where it started. Maybe it was in me to begin with, and maybe the motivation at that time was not what the motivation is now. But that's where it started, and very certain that that was the impetus
Mm.
that just kept moving me in this direction.
Wow. And the other quick question is, are there any hobbies that you have that not many people know about that you like to do, or you do something totally different from the chiropractic world? Do you have any interesting hobbies that maybe a lot of people aren't aware of?
Yeah, but if I tell you, then they'll be aware, and that's going to blow the whole secret. So we're going to have to keep it a secret.
Shh, I won't say anything. Okay, viewers and listeners. Okay. Well, that was just, a quick question that I ask all of my guests. So
I
again,
mean, honestly, my hobbies
yeah,
are learning more.
okay,
Just looking because and I do listen to podcasts because they're a great way, as you know, to get information from people, not just here but all over the world.
yeah,
I mean, I was on a couple of podcasts in Australia, and they were also interested in the same kind of information because
wow,
it's not just the United States, but people all over the world. They're trying to find a better way to live and take care of themselves. And so this is like a universal, human issue. Much of it again is because of the modern world with all the things that we're up against. Like I said earlier, the modern world is at war with us, and we have to soldier up, and we got to put on our armor every day, whatever that means.
yep, absolutely. We got to plot, keep going forward, and connecting with like-minded individuals that are well versed in so many different levels, like we are. And I really wanted to thank you for taking the time out of your day
Oh, sure.
to be on my show. And for all my viewers and listeners, just remember to get out there, ground with Mother Earth, get those feet grounded in the earth, keep it dirty. And for everyone that's listening, if you could rate, review, and just support my podcast, I'll be having more people on and more conversations with Dr. Lipman going forward, because there's so many things that we're passionate about to create awareness for a new version and a healthier version of you. So with that, I just want to say thank you again. And can you please reiterate again, how can people, or just let us know, how can we reach out
Sure.
to you or your website?
Yeah. So physicalevidenceconnect.com. Physicalevidenceconnect.com. That's where you can put in your information. Boca Raton Chiropractor is our Instagram channel and TikTok, but don't go to TikTok because my girls make me do these stupid dances and it's just ridiculous. But she says that's how we build a following, so whatever. But
It is.
Boca Raton Chiropractor on Facebook, I think it's also Physical Evidence Chiropractic, Physical Evidence Chiropractic, which is also the website, the .com. But if you want to reach me directly, physicalevidenceconnect.com, you can put in your information. I'll absolutely get to you, and we could have a good conversation and try to get to the bottom of what you might be dealing with and trying to help you resolve it.
Well, again, thanks for such great conversation, as we always do. And for everybody, have a great day and try to keep it dirty. Bye.
Thank you, Leslie.